starting a new series on David. Now, next to Jesus, David is the person who has more said about him than anyone else. In fact, 66 chapters of the Bible are dedicated just to David's story. He's pretty important because it is through David's descendants that the Messiah, the Son of God, will be born. Now, I'm going to provide a story summary set of 7 stories to help us catch a hint of David's life. It's not meant to be exhaustive. I hope that it will just inspire you to go listen to 1st and 2nd Samuel, or read it and to examine it to discover what God teaches you. Now, this is what we're told in 1 Samuel. It was during a time when the people were demanding a king. See, all the people in the land around them had kings, and even though they had the one true God, they wanted a king like everyone else. So God told the prophet Samuel, he said, I'll give them a king because they're asking for it, but you need to give it to them with a warning. It's going to come at a cost, because that king, he will reign over them and he'll make their decisions. Now, in the land, there was this man, and he stood a whole head taller than everyone else in the land. He was also really good looking and wealthy, and his name was Saul. Saul was the man who was anointed to be the king over Israel. And when he first became king, he did what God asked. He obeyed, and he went out and defeated the enemies of God. But in time, he started to do his own thing and only partially obey God. And this really made God regret that he made him king. And so he told the prophet Samuel, I regret making Saul king, and I'm going to remove him. And this made Saul grieve. And God said to Samuel, I want you to go to Jesse, and I'm going to anoint one of his sons to be king. Now, Jesse lived in a little obscure town in Bethlehem. And he was a shepherd, just like his forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. No one really knew about his town, and he had 8 sons. The youngest of his sons was David, and David was a shepherd for his father. And Jesse also was a part of the line of Judah, because his descendants were Ruth and Boaz. Now, David, when he was out working in the fields, this is when he learned to become a protector of sheep. Because if a lion or a bear tried to harm them, he would protect them. And it was out in the sheep fields that David also became a musician. And he developed a very good relationship with God. He wrote psalms and songs, and he would sit out and pass his days in the fields while watching the sheep by praising God. May God honor this telling part of David's story. Shalom, y'all.